Okay, so we got our shape here, and it's a cube. Nothing too exciting. If I come over here to these little triangle looking button, we talked about the vertex groups before. Um, let's take a look at shape keys. So shape keys here, I can click the little plus next to it, and that creates a basis. That's kind of our starting place. That's what it looks like to begin with. Now you can click another plus here, and it says key 1, and you can double click that and type new shape, or whatever you want to call it. Now over here, I'll go into edit mode, so I'll press my tab key, and I can right click one of the vertices and do a G for grab and move it out like that. I can right click one of these and move it out like that. Now, if I click basis here, notice what it does. It jumps back to the original shape, right? If I click new shape, it jumps out to the new shape. So with a shape keys, you can define a lot of different looks, different shapes. Did we get a shape graded? Okay. Now if I go back to my object mode here, if I come down here, I should still have my shape keys open. You see where it says the relative and it says value? If you click in here with your left mouse button and start moving it, you see how it transforms and morphs into that new shape? Really? Do you have new shape selected?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Once I need to go back and
Okay, so you have new shape looking like that. Basis is normal. Okay. Now go into one object mode.
yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, that's
And do you say that with mode, I guess?
the object mode is where you can transform it back and forth.
Alright.
Okay. Now my timeline is currently at 0 on mine. This I oftentimes forget. I had to refresh my memory during lunch. Because I'll come over here and I'll do an I. And it's not quite what I want. If you come over here in the value bar down here and you do an I, it does create a place in our timeline, but it does more than that. It records off that current morph position, which is right now nothing. If you come over here at 40, and again, put your mouse over here in this value bar, and that's where you do your I, then it creates a different of course, it helps if I actually move it. Let me do a Control Z. Okay, so I'm at 40, and now I'm going to move my transformation to like maybe right there. And now I do an I. It creates a entry based upon that morph position. And I come over here to 80. And again, I move this more up to 100% of the transformation and do an eye there. And it turns yellow, so you know that it worked. Then I come down here and I'll click somewhere and I'll do E for edit. Or E for in, sorry. So now if I go ahead and play that, you'll see your animation transforms, morphs. Morph is what they keep referring to it as. I keep wanting to say transform. Everybody get that okay? Okay, so I'm going to do a new. And this is a little bit different than just moving like part of your separate mesh. You know, and do a G for grab and move it out and so forth. This is actually changing one mesh. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. If it's kind of boring. Let's choose the monkey. So choose create, choose the monkey. Now rotate it. And there we go. Come out, and I want to go ahead and create a shape key on it. That's my basis. That's your starting place. That's what ensures that as you start screwing with this and getting look a lot of different ways, you can always go back. Now you do another plus. This is the first transformation. And you can do once you're in edit mode, so tab to edit mode, you can do an A to unselect everything. You can do a Z for wireframe if you want to choose part of it. And then I can do a B for border, select, and kind of come down here and grab all these vertices and top part of the skull. Again, when you do a wireframe, it allows you to choose it on both sides. And now I can do a GZ. Have it go like this. Do another Z. And so now if I go to object mode, I got first transformation selected there. I can see the head going up like that.
Looks like Mojo Jojo off this little cartoon I used to watch when I was little.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw that one. Is it anime?
Yeah, it's animated. It's Powerpuff Girls. My sister used to make me watch it with it.
Oh. Okay. Now, this is not currently animated. I could bring this back down to 0. Or you could have it go up like that and have it shrink back down. So it's kind of your choice. But here again, if I do an I on the value bar, come to 40, move it over to your value. Over to here, do another I. And then click somewhere in here, do an E. And now if I do that, I see it rises up like that. Now what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to use shape keys to do it, is I'm going to do a new. delete that, add the monkey. So click create. I delete by pressing X for delete, or just press the delete key. Add the monkey. We'll see how this works. Remember how we did that animation and eyeballs fell out? So it made you think the eyeballs weren't actually part of it, and they weren't physically connected with edges. So let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm gonna go to my shape keys. I need to create my basis. Okay, so there's my basis. Now down here, now I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but if you go into edit mode, everything's selected to begin with. If you do an A, it unselects it. Down here, there's 3 little cubes. Have I mentioned those 3 little cubes? Have I? Okay, so we want to choose the face one. And I wanted to go through and choose the faces in the eyeball. So I hold down my shift key. Rotate it a little bit. And we'll see if they're connected. Okay. So I didn't create a new shape key, did I? Okay. I exit out of that. Click my shape key. And we're trying to see what we can do with the eyeball, if it truly is separate. So I go back into edit. Luckily, they're all still selected. Now our basis is the beginning. So at this point, almost looks like there's faces underneath the eyeball, isn't there? Yeah, there is. When I went to the side, I see that there's this is why wireframe is useful. I didn't think I was actually good enough with wireframe though to choose the eyeball without choosing the rest of it. Okay, I think I got all of the eyeball. Okay, so now my eyeball shape key is selected. So I can do a G and I'll move it along the Y. GY. Have the eyeball come out like that. Okay, so now if we go back to our object and we morph it, you can see the eyeball come out. Now, interestingly enough, when I pulled that out, it was still connected to something, wasn't it? That's got me wondering, because I was sure our eyeballs popped out of the skull. I may not have got everything, or they may actually be connected, and it had something to do with like the mass, where the eyeball was stronger than what was connecting it, and it actually popped off the bit. But anyway, if I come back here, set it back to 0, 0, and I'll create a I, go to 60, I'll move the value, click my left mouse button, move it out, and another I, and then I'll click at 70, for example, do E, and then play that. You see that coming out like that. Now this is very basic shape keys I'm showing you here. You find very fancy things they do with shape keys. A lot more in the eyeball just coming out like that. Let's see if I can find one of the good tutorials on it. Shape keys tutorial. You don't remember that one guy's Blender guy or CJ Cookie? That's usually good.
I think we use this a lot.
Did we use this one? This is where he's going through. I'm trying to get to the point where he shows it.
No, those are right back.
Boy, that's kind of slow. He doesn't look like he's going to animate it. But idea is that you can have different transformations. Like when you start to smile, your face like this to begin with, right? And then you slowly goes up to the smile, doesn't it? So if you were trying to animate that, instead of sitting there doing each, individual moving it and so forth, you create a shape key of character smiling, frowning, raising their eyebrows. All these things, are such that you can use shape keys to generate. Now, this takes a lot of time, by the way, to get good at this, where you can move it around. I can do very basic shape keys, but bless you. Um, let's see if there's any good ones. Blinking. It just seems like there's more and more ads lately. What? There. You see how he's grabbing that, just using rotation. And again, by using the shape keys, it just saves so much time in animation because you've already predefined what happens when you blink. How many times, assuming you develop an animation that's somewhat realistic, how many times is it going to blink in a 5-minute video?
Depending on how fidgety you make that character.
Yeah, it could be blink 20 times, right? So you're sitting there having to create that animation over and over. The shape keys allows you to very quickly do that. Now these right here, um, they don't really show it, but when you move this up, if it's attached to the eyeball, what's the eyeball going to do?
Smooth.
Exactly. So typically your eyeball, even though it's like part of the mesh, it's not actually attached to anything. I don't think I could probably find a model. Let me see if I could. Let's see. Be careful what I type here. Searching for a model. Blender model, free download. I think Turbo Squid you have to be a member of. And we're going to see eventually how to do this. Here's a free one. It's naked. That'd be the time when the administrator would be walking by. There's a robot. I wonder if I can remember my sign on. What would I put it under? He's at Cali. First time. I haven't downloaded from Turbo Squid for quite a while. Blender, free 3D model, Blender. I think that's what I want. Show in folder. This one might not be good for showing that. Let's see. Cut that. I'll paste it over in documents. Strangeness. Was it strangeness? I don't remember that. Okay. Yeah, this isn't what I was wanting. I figured there'd be some kind of eyeball here. This is one that already has some bones in it. You see this right here. If I move it out to the side, you see that representation there. And we'll get that point where we put bones inside of something and animate it. And you notice here, got these bones inside the fingers, right? Because you want to animate the fingers like that. No eyeballs though. Can't really tell if those are connected or not. But again, if you have them right next to each other, but you don't actually have them connected, you can easily rotate the entire thing and not have it transform this. There's other ways around that, but that would be the idea. So is there another one that is good for eyeballs? Let's see. Turbo Squid Blender. You can see they've created some nice models. A lot of blenders. Cartoon. Rigged means it has bones in it. I don't know what animated. Oh, that's funny. See, some of these have a Unity package built in. That means you can bring it directly into Unity and have it as your 3D game. So I guess you could have Donald Trump running around your game. There used to be a way you could specify which type. Oh, formats, right in front of me. There. Blender. Did I change that? This one, oh, that's $35. I don't want to pay. Price. Free. Would that be a cheap price to pay, though, to have something already designed you could plug directly into a game? That would be, wouldn't it? That looks interesting. Blender. Download that. I think. Maybe only allows one per day. Oh, there it goes. Download. And show all, blend. Copy that. And documents, paste it. Do you see how the eyeballs are in there? And with those with their attached, see how I move it? And it's not attached to the other part of the mesh, is it? So to animate this, you wouldn't even have to use shape keys. You could just grab that and you can then rotate that. Let's see, am I in object mode? Yeah, I am. There used to be a perfect one I used for animation is Ludwig. I loved using that in class. Oh, vertex groups. Helps if I look at the right thing. Some of these I'm not sure if I see a difference. Shin grow. Palm. Eye point. Wait a minute, that's vertex group. Palm. Smile. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Could be they haven't got it set up. I don't know. Or correctly, yeah. Or it could be part of a script. So there's lots of different options they have there. Oops. Oh, wait a minute, there's edit mode.
That's a little freaky.
So that's what it should look like. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong. It's not letting me animate it. It doesn't feel like it does anything. That's curious. It doesn't let me do an eye down here. It might have it locked or something. But anyway, that shows you with the eyeball that you can have that rotate and so forth. Eye blink. What's that probably do? If assuming I could figure out how to unlock it. The eyelid comes down, doesn't it? And again, you'd want to have it designed right so when you pull the eyelid down, it doesn't actually distort the rest of it. Or if it does, you can, it looks natural. Interesting. What are the eyeballs?
Separate pieces. Oh, they're UV spheres.
Yeah, there's nothing special there. You just have to make sure that the what? Smoothed it out. So you just have to make sure these aren't actually physically connected with edges. You see anything else that's not?
Toes.
Yeah, the toes are separate, aren't they?
Sort of.
That's curious. Why would you separate the toes?
To make it free.
Animate wiggling the toes?
Maybe, unless they don't add these bones. Because I don't want this bone structure, is there?
I don't think I saw a bone structure. Here's a bone back here. Appears to be the only bone, though. See how you can animate that with the bones? I don't see any other ones. Anyway. That's all I wanted to show on the shape keys. Now the next one, we need to take a look at some initial stuff before we look at the video. I'm going to delete that, do an X for delete. And I'm going to chase create, and I'll choose cylinder, I think is what they choose in the video. I haven't mentioned this very much, but after you add probably all of these, there's options down here. You see these vertices here? If I change that to 8, not 135, you see that it becomes less of a cylinder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 has eight sides going around here, doesn't it? If I change that to 2000, now it's perfect, isn't it? But again, we just increased it to 4,000 vertices. So I'll change that to 8. Your goal is to achieve the effect without creating a bunch of vertices. depth, radius, you can select all that. The cap fill style. If you do the drop down there, there's a nothing option. That'll have it open. You can also choose the location, the X, Y, and Z. So if you add it somewhere and you didn't really want it that position, then you can change that automatically here, and the rotation. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's delete that. Let's just look at some of the other options. If I drop a cube on, we have our rotation, radius, location. There isn't a whole lot of options though, is there? If I drop on a UV sphere, you see there's segments. If I try to change the number of segments, if you look at your vertices and faces, do you see what's happening? Goes up yeah, so it's giving you a little bit maybe better definition at a price. The rings, 16. If you choose that, you see there's more rings going around the sphere in terms of what's that direction? Horizontal? Size, nothing too exciting there. You can change the size using the scale. Location, rotation. Yeah, I'll delete that. What I'm real curious about is a monkey. I don't know what that has. A radius, a location, rotation. Nothing exciting. Okay. Let's delete that. I'm going to do a new file new to set it back. And again, I'll delete that and I'll add on a cylinder. So maybe I can see it. There it is. And I'm going to choose vertices. I'll choose 8. I think is what they'll do in the video. And I want it open. So I'll set to nothing. So you can see it's opening in the middle. I go into edit mode. And we see what we have currently. Go back to object. Now I can do an S, R for rotate. Now if I do an R and I rotate about the x-axis and then I immediately type 90, it'll turn it exactly 90 degrees and then you can press enter to have it save that position. So if you're trying to turn it so it's exactly on the plane there, then you choose 90 degrees. You can choose whatever angle you want. I can do an S for scale. And I could choose the Y and move it out like that. So now we have a long pipe, basically. Now if I go into edit mode, you see at this point, we still have 16 vertices, right? So that hasn't changed. And I didn't bring my cheat sheet, so let me see if I remember how to do this. Control R. So if you do Control R, and then you start moving your mouse wheel. This is where you can do something called a loop cut. And so I'll throw it out maybe like that. And if I do enter, then it goes out of that pink, goes to orange, and I can shift it a little bit if I wanted to, but wherever you want it. Then you left mouse click. Now notice our vertices now have increased to 144. So no longer 16 vertices. So that's a way you could evenly cut your cylinder. Everybody get their cylinder cut evenly? Now if I go back, let's see which one. I think it's a modifier. Click Add Modifier. Click Add Modifier here. There's a lot of different things you can do. Some of these don't work unless you have enough vertices to work with. If I do Simple Deform, see how there's a twist? There's a bend, taper, and stretch. If we choose bend, and then the axis origin, if you have it based upon the camera. My camera's down there, so if I rotate it, you see it's actually bent my object, hasn't it? Now this angle here is 45 degrees. If you play with that, you change that to 180 degrees, it'll bend it up like that. Remember how we looked at rigid bodies? If you're trying to do an animation and have it drop a ball, for example, and have it roll, down a tubing, you could use this to do that. Change it to 330. Now, at this point, if I go back to object mode, I can apply. But notice even beside it, what does it say? Apply as a shape key. So if you want to animate it being bent, you could even do that. I never have done that. Of course, I didn't create a basis to begin with, did I? So let me go back here, and I'm going to delete that bend because we really haven't done anything. So click, get rid of that. I'm going to go to my, here, my shape key. I create my basis. So object. You have to create an object. There's my basis. I create another one. This is going to be my bend. Okay, so now go back in there. Everything's still cut. So I got my loop cut. And now I'm going to go to Add Modifier, Simple Deform. Some of these will not let you actually deform them if you have shape keys defined. Shape keys I find kind of irritating in that regard because some of these things when you go to do them, it's like you got shape keys. You can't do this with shape keys. It's just like I want to do both. I'm assuming this one you can because it actually has a button that says apply as a shape key. Okay, so I got bend. I'm going to bend it with regards to the lamp. And change that to 330 or 360 or whatever. I'm going to apply it as a shape key. Of course, can't do it in that, so I'll go to Object, apply a shape key. And I have a simple deform here, don't I? So now if I change that, have that. Of course, if you do an eye here, it creates that. I come down out to 80. I change my value. I do another eye. Then do an E. Now if I do an Alt A, interesting. Anyway, I got diverted. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to delete these shape keys. Let's see if I remember how to delete them. Probably the minus. Yeah. Minus there. I'll do minus again. Okay, so I go back here. Got my modifier, simple simple deform. Choose my bend, base it upon the camera. Choose my angle 330. Now at this point, go back to object, you can apply it. Now there's no more undoing that. That's stuck in that position now. Pretty good so far? Okay. Now I can grab my camera here. And let's see if I change my view to cameras, active camera. Or actually, if we do set active object as a camera. At this point in time, we now have selected the camera and we set the view as a camera. So I'm in my animation here. I can do an eye. I do an eye up here, and I set the location. I can move further on here and move my camera. If I do a G for grab, I can move it up like that. Do another eye for location. Move it further on here. Do a G for grab. Maybe GX. Move it out further like that. Do another eye in location. And I'll do an E for ender. Now if I did Alt A, you'd see this. You might say, well, big deal. I was able to move it before. What is this going to do when we render it? Yeah. You know, if you may have remember some of those animations may have went off our screen. When you have if you're controlling the camera and you're animating it, then that controls what's going to go to the movie, the MP4 or AVI or whatever you create. Okay, so I'm going to escape out of that. You can just move to get it back out of there. And again, you can right click anything to select it. And what they indicate in that video, though I'm sure she does it a lot better. Though I'm real curious how she got her voice to sound like a robot. Is she says position it at the start of your opening. The start doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which end you start with. And you set your camera. So you set your camera, set active object as camera. Where in the world am I? Obviously too far away. She'll give you a very, very quick way to do that. Now, I'm still not sure if I'm pointing at it. So if I had any kind of memory. What is it? Control numpad 0. So control numpad 0. Now I'm pointing at the beginning of it, right? If you do Shift F for flight, and I'm really bad at this. let's see, Shift F, then W for up. You can go through your object. S for down. D for rotating. I don't play PC games. But those same ones you're doing, you're traveling through your object. So you could take snapshots of that if you wanted to. You know, I for your position. Does that make sense? What that's doing? And if you use your mouse, you can have it move like that and so forth. But anyway, so let's take a look at that video. Talking about camera animation. Control Alt 0. You remember how I was moving it? That's because I couldn't remember. So I come back here. And where in the world's my camera? Right in there. Okay, so my camera's out here. So you want to align the opening in the middle of the screen. That seemed to work out best, as much as you can. And then Control Alt 0 on your numpad. Did that put me inside? Little bit too close, wasn't it? Okay, I probably shouldn't have had it zoomed in as much. Now Control Alt 0. That's better. You see where our camera's located at then? It's right at the mouth of it. I was too close the first time. By the way, these are wonderful videos. Because I hate these videos where you have to sit there and watch a 15-minute video to remember one task. So their goal is these 1-minute videos. So they go through there and as fast as they can, they show the concept. After you get the mouth of the curve in the center, you don't want to be too close. You do Control Alt, wait a minute. Control Alt numpad 0. So hold down your Control, hold down your Alt, and then you push that numpad 0. If you appear to be inside of it, then we're too close to begin with. Okay, so then they're talking about after you get to this point, your camera is still selected. If you do that Shift F, you're in flight mode. And that's where you can use your A's and S's. Geez, I'm bad. D, I guess, goes to the right, doesn't it? Now you're maybe looking at that as like, well, how can you adjust that? If you oops. If you have this, you can do a G for grab and even move your camera to get it centered a little bit better. So it's talking about hitting the record down here. You could click the play, and then you do your A and S to move it around type of deal. I already have an animation here, so it's already messed up. So, but as you're flying through the tube, it's creating the animation. And I should have started over so I didn't have these already down here. Does that make sense on what it's looking for? Well, what I want you to do is in the remaining time, go ahead and create that animation as well as you can. So start over if you have your timeline screwed up like I have, and you have your shape key still in there, everything like I have, then start over and create that animation.